My first college application was to the University of Michigan. I prepared my materials with the help of a college counselor from a national college prep program for students like me, high achieving and underrepresented at the nation's most selective universities. The first essay I wrote, titled Jumping for Joy, described how I felt when I got my acceptance into the program at Princeton. I was incredibly excited. Now, when I shared the statement, however, with the counselor, their feedback was simple. This essay will work for U of M, but you'll need a stronger, more compelling essay for the other schools on your list. The other schools on my list included private and highly selective universities from all across the country. The second essay I wrote detailed coming home to a house newly raided by the police. My essay went from reflecting my joy, my excitement, my optimism, to my pain. With one exception, I was admitted to all the schools on my list and decided to attend Georgetown. Maybe the counselor was right. I wanted to write about my joy, but a Black girl from Detroit had to detail how she overcame her circumstances. The low-income, first-generation college student who earned all A's with a CVS receipt length of accolades to match. Although not explicitly, I was told that my pain made me legible and that my struggle and not my success was the story. After college graduation, I became an admissions officer and coordinator of African American recruitment and saw this reality for myself. I read thousands and thousands of college applications searching for the highest achieving student and the most compelling stories. With a new lens, I saw how I too reinforced the consumption of trauma. I experienced how stories about poverty, homelessness, food insecurity influence decisions, especially when written by racialized minorities. That revelation, coupled with my lived experience, changed my life. So now, when I tell people I study trauma in college admissions essays, I usually get one or two responses. So the first response is, that's very interesting. I never thought about essays in that way before. And that's funny because someone at the DIA said that to me about 2 weeks ago. The second response is usually, I'm so happy you're talking about this, sis, because that's exactly what I did. That's what my students do. And they're not alone. My research examines how Black students make sense of the expectation to talk about trauma in college essays. But we see tweet after tweet after tweet. We also see direct message after DM, and article after article. And yes, that last one is one I wrote. That people share with me and the world that they felt compelled to talk about trauma. The undergraduate students I interviewed carefully detailed that the pressure to put their trauma on display came from teachers, counselors, TikTok videos, university websites, the media, to name a few. They revealed that their hardship was encouraged and that their lighthearted memories about international travel abroad or competitive student body elections were not compelling enough. Like me, they were told that their joy lacked salience. But why? So my research shows that this is a little complicated. It's not black and white, right? So the first explanation as far as why we share trauma is simple. These stories often give us explicit demonstration of how we overcame a specific obstacle. They highlight our grit, our resilience, all revered qualities, especially in the eyes of funding bodies and admissions officers. They also speak to our cultural beliefs here in the US about meritocracy, that our ability to work hard and pull ourselves up by our bootstraps make us worthy for help and opportunity. Just think about your favorite, reality competition show, say American Idol, right? The stories they often highlight in those montages prey on our desire to root for the underdog and someone who's struggled. So the second explanation as far as why we tell these stories is sometimes our lives are traumatic, okay? So sometimes they reflect the true and authentic pieces of our stories, and they motivate us. I mean, I'm writing my whole dissertation about trauma narratives, right? So if it's your story, it's also your story to tell. And then finally, as far as why we tell these stories is, we're giving the people what they want. For universities, these stories help them reflect their progressive ideals and commitments to diversity, equity, and inclusion. For other organizations, it helps them raise money for important causes, programs, and initiatives. And quite frankly, it helps them position themselves as saviors. So given this, I mean, what's the problem? Why should we rethink how we tell our stories and our narratives? Well, for starters, our stories can be commodified and exploited. We see this all the time, from newspaper articles to websites, companies, organizations, universities. Your pain becomes their paper. Your challenges, their coins. Your mess, their millions. Not to mention, an image of you at a very specific moment in your life may follow you. You might be tethered to a story you've already outgrown. I had to make a critical decision at 17 about how to frame my life story. And are you the same person you were when you were 17? I'm not. Not to mention, what if you choose not to tell your story and others do? You might be punished because you refuse to detail intimate details about your life and consider less deserving than someone who chose to write about their struggle. I've also seen the reverse happen, where someone said, you know, your story's too rough, too traumatic, we don't want that either. So that also happens. So why aren't stories of joy good enough? Why do you need to see me bleed to know that I'm real? Although I don't know if my Jumping for Joy essay would have resulted in similar admissions decisions, what I do know is that stories of joy, especially Black joy, are critical to our narratives. In telling our stories that prioritize our wins as much as our woes, we reject the single story that reduces us to our pain and denies us the complexities that make us who we are. So here's what you can do. The next time an application or grant comes across your stage, I want you to think about it. What are you rewarding? Does this applicant fulfill a stereotype you already have? Are you rewarding struggle or are you rewarding success? And for those sitting to write, I want you to think about what you share, with whom you share, what you hope to gain, and what you might lose in the process. 17-year-old Aya just wanted to talk about the moment she understood the meaning of joy, but was told that wasn't enough. So I leave you with Bria, an undergraduate student I interviewed who recognized the power of telling her story in her own words. Bria resisted the expectation to detail trauma in her college essay. She ends, I don't need to tell you my whole story. I am here, and that's enough. I hope we can all be a little bit more like Bria. Thank you.